you will have a pruritic papule, usually appearing after 1 to 7 days after exposure, and this papule will change into a vesicle. Okay, and you will have a necrotic ulcer with a very characteristic central black scar. Okay, so this is a very characteristic skin lesion of your Bacillus anthracis. Okay, so necrotic ulcer with a central black scar. Okay, so around the lesion, sometimes meron kang edema because of your hematoxin. Okay, you can have lymphangitis and lymphadenopathy, systemic signs and symptoms like your fever. Okay, and the black scar will dry and it will heal, leaving a scar. Okay, it will often leave a scar, and about 20% may lead sepsis. Okay, so for gastrointestinal anthrax, usually it will present with ulcers. Okay, ulcers at the site of invasion, saan pumasok si Bacillus anthracis. Patient may develop regional lymphadenopathy, then may edema, and patient can develop sepsis. Lastly will be your inhalation anthrax or your wool sorter's disease. This time, you will have rapid onset of sepsis with fever, okay? And this time, most patients will die. Okay, most patients will die unless immediate treatment will be initiated. Okay? So, for diagnostic laboratory test, specimen. Ano yung isasubmit niyo sa laboratory? So, you can collect specimen coming from the fluid or pus of the lesion. Okay? You can use blood or sputum if you are considering infection anthrax. Okay? So you can do or request for mga staining, immunofluorescent staining, or serologic testing such as your ELISA. Okay, for serology, you detect the toxins, specifically your edema and your lethal toxins. Okay, other test, yung culture. You can grow it in your pap, okay, your blood agar plate. And it has a very characteristic growth pap. Okay, meron siyang mga comma-shaped outgrowth. So this is your colony, okay, yung solid white, and you have comma-shaped outgrowths. Okay, sometimes it is called your medusa head. Okay, yung parang ulo ni medusa, di ba? May mga ahas, okay, na lumalabas. Okay, so your medusa head. So treatment and prevention, the drug of choice for anthrax is your ciprofloxacin, and there is a vaccine. Okay, but not all is recommended to have vaccine. Sino lang ba yung dapat bigyan ng vaccine? Sino sa tingin ninyo? Yes, Tagila. Which do you think? Ano yung population? Group ng population that is recommended to have vaccines.
Doc, yung mga na-expose po, like yung mga farmers, and then...
Farmers. What else?
Wag din po sa mga pregnant.
Again, sorry? Farmers.
Wag po sa mga pregnant po.
Pregnant. Okay, so farmers because they are exposed. What else? Sino pa? Aside from farmers, meron pa ba? Oliver Lim, meron pa ba tayong mga exposed population that will benefit from anthrax vaccination?
May mga wool sorters po.
Mga soldiers. Bakit?
Hindi, yung mga wool sorters po.
Sorters. O ano pa? Farmers. Ano pa?
Hindi po siya pwede din sa mga immunocompromised.
Okay? O aside from farmers, yung mga wool sorters, sino pang dapat nating bigyan ng vaccine?
Ayun, Doc, mga soldiers din po, kagaya kanina.
Bakit? Bakit
Kasi
kailangan
po,
bigyan?
yung anthrax, Doc, ginagamit sa biological warfare.
Okay, so di ba yung sinasabi natin na nilalagay sa envelope, in-mail. Okay? So why do you think, Oliver, why do you think Bacillus anthracis is used? Why not other bacteria? There are more bacteria that are more virulent than your Bacillus anthracis. Pero why do you think Bacillus anthracis is used?
Yung siguro, Doc, dahil po sa inhalation, yung kanina po, inhalation
Okay?
anthrax.
O what else? Ano yung specific characteristic niya? Kaya siya yung ginagamit. Diba? Yung sabi, nilalagay sa mail. Sa mga mail, di ba? Sa mga letters.
Yung siguro, Doc, dahil po sa spore siya, so parang resistant siya sa environmental damage.
Yes, di ba? Because of the spores, they can resist drying. Di ba? So they can survive in the environment, di ba? Kahit hindi ideal yung environment for a longer. So kaya siya ginagamit. Okay. Okay, now let's proceed to the next species, which is your Bacillus cereus. Okay, tatandaan ha, aerobic, gram-positive, bacilli in chains. This time, it can cause food poisoning. Okay, and you have two types of food poisoning that can be caused by your Bacillus cereus. The first type will be your emetic type. Okay, so emetic, so from the word, anong signs and symptoms natin? Vomiting, emetic, nausea, abdominal cramps. Okay, so these are associated with rice. Okay, so doon natin siya nakukuha sa rice. And the toxin is produced in the intestine. Okay, so ang nai-ingest ng patient will be the bacteria. Okay, and the bacteria will produce toxin inside the intestine. Okay, so this type of food poisoning is self-inflicted. The other type is your diarrheal type. Okay, so diarrheal type, obviously, signs and symptoms, diarrhea. Okay, and abdominal pain. They are associated with meat dishes and some sauces. And the toxin may be preformed. Okay, pwedeng walang organism yung nakain mong meat but meron na siyang toxin. Okay? Or pwede din ang mai-ingest mo will be the organism. Okay, where it will produce toxin inside it. Okay? So, hindi lang food poisoning ang pwedeng i-cause ni Bacillus cereus. It can also cause eye infections. Okay? It can also cause systemic infections, usually coming from contaminated medical devices. Okay? So, pwede siyang kumalat. It can go to the heart, causing endocarditis. It can also cause meningitis, osteomyelitis, and even pneumonia. Okay, for laboratory diagnosis, it will have or it will show or demonstrate hemolysis on your blood agar plate. This will help you differentiate it from Bacillus anthracis. Bacillus anthracis is non-hemolytic. Bacillus cereus is hemolytic. Okay? You can also demonstrate swarming. Okay, swarming, meaning it is motile. It is a motile bacilli. Okay, treatment, you can give vancomycin or clindamycin, and most of them are resistant to your penicillins and cephalosporins. Okay, although vancomycin is considered a penicillin. Okay. Next, we will go to your Clostridium species. Again, anaerobic. Anaerobic, gram-positive, and they are motile, causing the following diseases. Okay, botulism, tetanus, gas gangrene, and your pseudomembranous colitis. Okay, let's start with botulism. Okay, the disease is botulism. The causative agent is your Clostridium botulinum. Okay, they can be found in the soil and animal feces. And the most common source of infection for adult will be your canned goods. Okay, mga dilata for adults. And for infants, the most common source will be honey. Okay, honey. Okay, the disease is an intoxication. So meaning the one that can cause the disease are the toxins that are produced by your organism. And your Clostridium botulinum produces different toxin, and the one that is associated with human illness will be your toxin A, B, and E. Okay, and your botulinum toxin A is the one used for Botox. Okay, narinig nyo na ba yung Botox? Joanne Casabar, narinig mo na ba yung Botox?
Yes po.
Yes, saan ginagamit?
Wrinkles po.
Sa wrinkles. Okay. Ano nangyayari sa wrinkles? Nawawala, di ba? Okay.
Yes po.
What causes wrinkling? Nagkukos ng wrinkles. Because just that, we will now know the pathogenesis. Anong pathology? Botulinum toxin A. So bakit ba tayo nagkaka-wrinkles? What causes wrinkles?
Could it be aging po ba?
Yes, pero why?
Shortening of telomeres?
Shortening of
Telomeres?
what? Sorry, I cannot hear.
Telomeres.
Hmm.
Ending.
Sige, simple lang ang sagot. Huwag niyong pahirapan. Bakit tayo nagkaka-wrinkles?
Collagen, Doc.
Again? Collagen.
Collagen.
Oh. Oh, bakit? Diba? Sige, ikunot niyo yung noo ninyo. Bakit kumukunot yung noo? Diba? That's wrinkles.
Contraction po.
Okay, muscle contraction. Diba? Kaya tayo nagkaka-wrinkles. Okay? Now, what do you think is the action of botulinum toxin A? Diba? Bakit nawawala yung wrinkles? Bakit nawawala yung wrinkles? What do you think is the action of your botulinum toxin A? O Dominic Falcon. Bakit?
Dok, parang it causes paralysis of the muscle.
Okay, it causes paralysis. Okay, so it blocks the release of your acetylcholine. Diba? So wala kang muscle contraction. So you will have flaccid paralysis. Okay? So pag sa noo mo lang nilagay, the action is local. So ang mapaparalyze lang will be the muscle sa forehead. Okay? So imagine if it is systemic. Okay, so what will the patient, what will the presentation? So yan. Okay, so patient may develop facial nerve paralysis, double vision, diba? May mga muscles tayo sa eyes, diba? Slurred speech, diba? Tongue natin is a muscle. Yung heart natin may muscle, tachycardia, abdominal distension. So anything na may muscle can be affected. Okay? So the clinical symptoms usually appear 18 to 24 hours after the toxin ingestion. Yeah, the following are examples of presentation, and usually death is secondary to respiratory paralysis or cardiac arrest. Okay? So for infants, okay, so infants may present with poor feeding, weakness, sometimes called your flappy baby. Okay, and it is one of the many causes of your sudden infant death syndrome. Madaming causes ng sudden infant death syndrome, and one of them is your Clostridium botulinum. Okay, diagnostic test, you can demonstrate the toxin, okay, by doing serology. Okay, serologic test. But the question, what specimen will you submit? Okay, so pag adults, you submit the patient's serum and the leftover food. Okay, kung saan sa tingin ninyo nakuha yung botulinum toxin. But for the infant, you submit the stool. Okay, submit the stool and you detect the toxins, your botulinum toxin. Okay, so since this is an intoxication, okay, so the treatment is to give your antitoxin. Okay, it is not even recommended to give antibiotics. Okay, so you have to give your antitoxin, and very important will be supportive. Okay. So what do you think is the most important supportive treatment? Yana Tolentino, sa tingin mo? Ang pinaka-importante, supportive treatment in patients with botulism.
Respiratory.
Okay, you have to protect the respiratory. Okay, so airway support. Okay, be ready to intubate anytime. Okay, in case the patient goes into respiratory distress. Okay, next, Clostridium tetani. Okay, the causative agent of your tetanus. Okay, meron din siyang toxin. It is a neurotoxin called your tetanospasmin. Okay? So, ano ba ang action ni tetanospasmin? Blocks your glycine and GABA. Diba? Your glycine and GABA are inhibitors. Okay? If you block your glycine and your GABA, your motor neurons will not be inhibited. Okay? So, you will have persistent muscle contraction. Okay, so persistent muscle contraction resulting to your spastic paralysis. Diba? Si botulism, flaccid paralysis, walang muscle contraction. Si Clostridium tetani, spastic paralysis. Okay, you have persistent muscle contraction. Okay, the same with botulism, it is not an invasive organism. Okay, so they are considered local infections, but the toxins can spread. Okay, so the infection remains localized in your devitalized tissue. The same with botulism, it is a toxemia or an intoxication. Okay, but your toxin can reach your CNS. Okay. Incubation period, 4 to 5 days up to several weeks. Okay, so the patient will have tonic contraction of your voluntary muscles and any external stimuli may precipitate generalized tetanic muscle spasm. So ano ba yung mga examples ng external stimuli? Angela Puntil, give me examples of external stimuli that can stimulate tetanic muscle spasm sa patient? Example natin. Angela. Mga examples.
Doc, mga yung light with
Light. Okay, light, with, di ba? So if you have patients that are admitted, they should be isolated. Hindi sila pwedeng isama sa ibang pasyente. Okay, so bawal yung madilim. Okay, bawal yung maingay because pwedeng stimulate ng tetanic muscle spasms. Okay? And remember, the patient will remain conscious. Okay? So, hindi magbabago ang sensorium. Okay? And that is, again, secondary to respiration. Okay? Respiratory failure. So, very distinct clinical feature will be this one, Rhizus sardonicus. Diba? The ones affected here will be your muscles of facial expression. Okay? So, parang nakasmile palagi yung patient. Okay, another characteristic presentation will be your opisthotronus. Okay? The muscles affected here will be your back muscles. Okay, so treatment and prevention. Okay, so this time, the drug of choice is your penicillin. Again, since this is an intoxication, you have to give your vaccination. Okay? This time, you have to give your toxoids and your antitoxin. Okay, ano bang difference ng toxoid and antitoxin? Immunology, di ba? Na-discuss na natin yan. Immunology. Yung difference ng toxoid from your toxin. Pwede ba?
Toxoid, Doc, attenuated.
What's the main difference? Ano yung laman ng toxoid? Ano yung laman ng antitoxin? Jenna Rivera. Tatandaan mo pa ba yung immunology? Toxoid from toxin.
Antitoxin, Doc. Tetanus immunoglobulin po.
Immunoglobulin or your immunoglobulin or what?
Antibodies, no?
Antibodies. Okay, yung toxoid, anong laman?
Antigen po.
Antigen. Okay, if you give your antigen, what type of immunity will you develop?
Active po.
Active, correct. Meaning active, anong ibig sabihin ng active immunity? It will give you what? Immediate ba? Delayed? Long-lasting?
Long-lasting po.
Long-lasting, ano pa? But, long-lasting but, the effect will be?
Delayed po.
Delayed, di ba? O tatandaan, huwag kakalimutan, immunology, di ba? Pag nagbigay ka ng toxoid or antigen, okay? So, active immunization, okay? The effect is delayed but longer, di ba? Pag antitoxin, o ano pag antitoxin, or if you give your antigen, what type of immunity will develop?
Passive po.
Passive immunity. So, meaning the effect is?
Immediate po.
Immediate but
Short po.
Short, it is not temporal. Okay, so tatandaan. Now, for Clostridium tetani infection, you have to give both toxoid and antitoxin. Okay? Pero we have this one, your wound management. Not all, okay, ay bibigyan ng ng toxoid and antitoxin. Okay? So this is wound management for tetanus. Now, so tatandaan nyo tong table na to. Okay? The first thing that you will going to ask the patient is whether yung sugat ni patient is whether a non-tetanus prone wound or a tetanus prone. Okay? Ano ba yung tetanus prone? These are dirty wounds, di ba? Mga nasugatan ng pako. Okay? Patient who had vehicular accidents. Okay? So they are considered tetanus prone. Ano naman yung mga not tetanus prone? Okay? Mga clean wounds. Okay? For example, nagluluto ka, di ba? You are cut with your knife, di ba? Assuming that your knife is clean. Okay? So, considered siya na not tetanus prone. Okay? The next will be the vaccination history of the patient. Okay? Whether the patient has complete vaccination, not vaccinated, or incomplete vaccination, or unknown history. Okay? Ano ba yung definition natin ng complete vaccination for tetanus?
Three doses with booster po.
Okay, 3 doses with booster. So yan ang definition natin ng complete vaccination. Okay, now, so meron kang pasyente na tetanus prone. Okay? Pag hindi vaccinated, o incomplete vaccinated, or pag sinabi sa inyo, hindi ko na matandaan. Okay? Anong ibibigay ninyo? You will only give your vaccine. Okay? What is your vaccine? This is your toxoid. Okay? Now, if you have a not tetanus prone, complete vaccination, you will only give your vaccine if, okay, the last booster dose is more than 10 years. Okay, you will only give your vaccine if the last booster dose is more than 10 years. Okay, pag less than 10 years, anong ibibigay mo? Wala kang ibibigay. Okay, if the patient is completely vaccinated. Okay, now, what if you have a patient that obtained a tetanus-prone wound, walang vaccine, kulang ang vaccine, hindi alam kung may vaccine. Okay? You will give both your toxoid and your antitoxoid. Tetanus immunoglobulin. Okay? So, pareho mo ibigay. Tetanus-prone, complete vaccination. Okay, your patient has complete vaccination. You will only give your vaccine. Okay, you will only give your vaccine if, okay, the last booster dose is more than 5 years. Okay, tatandaan ha. So, marunong na kayo mag-manage ng tetanus. Okay? Okay, so yan ang vaccination for tetanus. Okay. Before we go to the other one, sa treatment and prevention, although not written here, okay, very important is supportive. Diba? Supportive treatment. So ano yung sa tingin ninyong pinaka-importanting supportive treatment for tetanus? Efrelin, Riginting. Ano sa tingin mong
Respiratory pa din ba?
Respiratory pa rin. Pero sinabi natin kanina, sa botulism, okay, be prepared to intubate your patient. Okay? So, pag tetanus, can you intubate your patient? Pwede ka bang mag-endotracheal intubation?
Hindi po, Doc.
Bakit hindi? That is correct. Okay? Mahihirapan kang mag-intubate. Why? Oh, anyone? Bakit mahihirapan tayong mag-intubate sa patient na may tetanus?
Probably, Doc, because facial contraction ng muscle, hindi mapapasok.
Correct. Diba? Meron tayong persistent muscle contraction. So, patient will have trismus. Diba? So, you cannot open the mouth of the patient. Okay? So, if we cannot intubate, anong pwede natin gawin to protect the airway? Anong pwede natin gawin?
Cricothyroidectomy.
Or your tracheostomy. Diba? So, you will perform an operation. So, bubutasan yun. Okay, you can do that. Okay, so let's now go to your Clostridium perfringens. This time, it will produce an invasive infection. Diba? Yung previous Clostridia, botulinum and tetanus, local infection. Clostridium perfringens, invasive infection. Okay? It can cause your myonecrosis in your gas gangrene. It also produces an enterotoxin. Okay, so it can also cause food poisoning. Okay, so your invasive Clostridia produces different or large variety of toxins and enzymes. Okay, this includes your enterotoxin, and many of these toxins have lethal, necrotizing, and hemolytic actions. Okay, so let's now proceed to the diseases that can be caused by your Clostridium perfringens. Okay, pwedeng cellulitis. Okay, a very simple cellulitis. Cellulitis is inflammation of what? Hygiene ferment. Ano siya? Inflammation of what? Ang cellulitis. Ferment, ano?
Subcutaneous tissue.
Subcutaneous tissues or your soft tissues. Okay? So, cellulitis. It is a local infection, di ba? Pwede din mag-cause ng suppurative myositis. So, this time, meron ka ng pus. Okay? Meron ng abscess or pus in the muscle planes, but without necrosis or systemic infections. Okay, Alma. Now, pwede din magkaroon ka ng myonecrosis. Okay, so this time, when we say myonecrosis, meron ka ng necrosis. Diba? Meron ka ng muscle necrosis. It is accompanied by foul-smelling discharge. Okay, may pus, may abscess. Okay, meron ka ng systemic signs and symptoms like your fever. Okay, patient can develop toxemia, it can lead to shock, and it can lead to death. Okay? Okay, so first picture, this is just your cellulitis. Okay, cellulitis. So you will just have swelling or inflammation of your soft tissues. This is a localized infection. Okay? The next picture is your pyeonecrosis. Meron ka ng muscle necrosis. Okay? Okay, sabi natin kanina, it also produces an enterotoxin, so it can also cause food poisoning. Okay, the same with other Clostridium infection, di ba? Yung Clostridium infection. Other causes of food poisoning, like in your Bacillus cereus, it is self-limiting. Okay, it will only last for about 1 to 2 days. And lastly, it can cause necrotizing enteritis. Okay, this is an acute necrotizing destruction of your jejunum with abdominal pain and vomiting, okay, and bloody diarrhea. It can perforate, okay, it can perforate your small intestine, leading to your peritonitis. Okay, so laboratory test, specimen, you can collect, okay, specimen coming from the wound or your pus or your tissue. But if you are going to collect tissue sample, do not collect necrotic tissues. Okay, so wag yung necrotic tissues ang kukunin nyo. Okay, so you can also perform gram staining. Okay, and one very characteristic appearance of your Clostridium perfringens is its appearance on blood agar plate. Okay, meron siyang double zone of hemolysis around your colonies. Double zone. Okay, so you have your hemolysis. Okay, another hemolysis. Okay, double zone, or sometimes this is called your target hemolysis. Okay, this is very characteristic of Clostridium perfringens on your blood agar. So treatment, most important aspect in the treatment will be prompt and extensive surgical depletion. Okay, so you have to remove or excise all your necrotic tissues. Okay, so you have to do debridement. Okay, the drug of choice is penicillin. Okay, last, your Clostridium difficile, now called your Clostridioides difficile. Okay, they are associated with administration of certain antibiotics, diba? So your difficile produces two toxins, your toxin A and your toxin B. Both are cytotoxic. They are cytotoxic. The disease it produces is called your pseudomembranous colitis. Okay? But for us to call it or to label the patient with pseudomembranous colitis, we have to satisfy the T. Kailangan present itong tatlo. Okay, first you have to detect one or both of your toxin. That is your toxin A and toxin B. Okay, you have to detect toxin in the patient's stool. Second, you should have an endoscopic observation of your pseudomembranes. And lastly, the patient who developed diarrhea should have been given antibiotics. Okay? So if you have a patient that is given antibiotics, then develops diarrhea, it is not automatically pseudomembranous colitis. Okay? So you have to satisfy follow. Okay, so this is an example of your pseudomembrane. Okay, so this is an endoscopic picture of pseudomembranes. Okay, so pseudomembranous colitis. Okay, so meron kang diarrhea. It may be watery or bloody. The patient will develop abdominal cramps, leukocytosis, and fever. Okay, and the most common antibiotics that are associated with pseudomembranous colitis are the following. Okay, But if you are asked, okay, o for example, sa exam ninyo, what is the most common cause of pseudomembranous colitis? Anong isasagot nyo? O Jessie Bardelosa, anong isasagot mo?
Doc, clindamycin.
Clindamycin. Okay, so pag isa lang ang tinanong sa inyo, the most common will be your clindamycin. Okay, but remember, all antibiotics can cause pseudomembranous colitis. Okay? But these three are the most common. The most common is your clindamycin. Okay, malinaw ha? So treatment, okay, of course, you have to discontinue the offending organism. Okay? Then you can give either your metronidazole or your vancomycin. Okay? Sige, before we go to your non-spore-forming gram-positive bacilli, tapos na tayo sa spore formers, we will now go to non-spore-forming gram-positive bacilli. Let's have a 5-minute break. Okay? So break. Continue. Mabalik na ba kayo? Sige, open your videos na ulit. So let's continue. We'll be now going to your non-spore-forming gram-positive bacilli. First will be your Corynebacterium diphtheriae. Okay? So morphologically, they have irregular swellings at one end. So assuming a club-shaped appearance, you have seen this. Okay, we have demonstrated this in the laboratory, di ba? We demonstrated the metachromatic granules. Okay? And individual Corynebacteria in stain smear, they tend to lie parallel or at acute angles. Okay? So assuming a palisading arrangement, okay, sometimes called your, anong tawag natin doon? Laging lumalabas sa exam yun. Appearance ng Corynebacterium on stain smear.
Chinese character appearance.
Okay, Chinese character appearance. Okay? So, on blood agar, so colonies are small, granular, and gray with irregular edges, and they may have small zone of disease. Okay, so they are your Corynebacterium diphtheriae is the causative agent of both your respiratory and your cutaneous diphtheria. Okay, and in nature, your Corynebacterium diphtheriae occurs in the respiratory tract, in wounds, or on the skin of infected persons or normal carriers. Okay, so they are part of the normal flora. It spreads by droplets or by direct contact to susceptible individuals, and bacilli can grow on mucous membrane or in skin abrasions. Meron din tayong diphtheria toxin. Okay, your diphtheria toxin. Okay, so patient may present with a pseudomembrane. Yan, pseudomembrane. A whitish thing on the oral cavity. Okay, and it is formed over the tonsils, the pharynx, or larynx. Okay, so they are made up of necrotic epithelium that are embedded with fibrin, RBC, and WBC. Okay, and any attempt to remove this pseudomembrane, it can cause to bleeding. Okay, so if you have a patient with a pseudomembrane, do not attempt to remove the pseudomembrane. Okay, it can bleed. Patients can also present with regional lymphadenopathy, okay, so sa neck, and there may be marked edema, okay, of the entire neck. You will have distortion of the airway, and this is called clinically as your bull neck, okay, your bull neck. So your diphtheria bacilli within the membrane will continue to produce your diphtheria toxin, okay, and this toxin can go to different organs, okay, so pwedeng sa heart muscle, it can cause your myocarditis, it can reach your liver, your kidneys, to your adrenal glands, and sometimes it can go to your nerve. Okay, it can cause nerve damage. Okay, demyelination, often resulting to paralysis. Okay, so paralysis sa soft palate and your eye muscles and even extremities. Okay, so since your Corynebacterium diphtheriae is part of your normal flora, not all of them are toxigenic. Okay, not all of them are pathogenic. Okay, so how can we detect whether that species is toxigenic or non-pathogenic? You can do your ELEC test. Okay, your ELEC test. So what we do is, so meron kang culture medium, plate culture medium, okay? So you will place a filter paper strip containing a diphtheria antitoxin. Okay, meron kang antitoxin. Okay, then you apply your specimen, okay, this one, and you have your control. Okay, you have your positive control, which contains a known toxigenic species, and a negative control, okay, which is a known non-toxigenic species. Okay? Now, kung yung specimen mo is toxigenic, it will form a precipitin line. Okay? If your species is non-toxigenic, so wala kang precipitin. Okay? So that is your ELEC test. So treatment, you can give your penicillins or your erythromycin. Again, you have to give your antitoxin. Okay, give your antitoxin. Next, Listeria monocytogenes. So gram-positive Coccobacilli in pairs. They are facultative anaerobes, motile at room temperature, and they can grow at 4 degrees. Okay, so sa malamig, they can grow at 4 degrees Celsius and in high salt concentration. They can be isolated in the soil, water, vegetation, and animals, and they are associated with contaminated food. Okay? They can contaminate food in your refrigerator. But since they can grow in 4 degrees Celsius. Okay? Pwede din transplacental spread during birth. Okay. So you have your neonatal disease. You have two types, early onset and late onset. Okay? Early onset, it is acquired in utero. So hindi pa pinapanganak si patient. Okay? It is called your granulomatosis infantiseptica. Okay, so there will be disseminated abscesses and granulomas in different organs. Pag late onset naman, it is acquired during birth. Okay, and patient will present with meningitis, meningoencephalitis, and the patient will develop septicemia. Okay, so pag disease in healthy individuals, okay, it will present with influenza-like illness. So mild, okay, it may be with or without gastroenteritis. Okay, but in patients, in pregnant patient, or patients that are immunocompromised, they may develop bacteremia or a disseminated disease, okay, with hypotension, and even they can develop meningitis. Okay? So diagnostic test, you can do smears, you can do gram staining. Okay, so culture medium, the one important here is your cold enrichment medium. Okay, they can grow in your cold enrichment medium at 4 degrees Celsius. Treatment, penicillin or ampicillin, okay, alone, or you can combine it with an aminoglycoside, which is your gentamicin. Next, mahirap i-pronounce. This is your Erice-Pelotrix ruchopathae. Okay, Erice-Pelotrix ruchopathae. They are slender, pleomorphic, gram-positive rods. Okay, they are micro-aerophilic, facultative anaerobe. Okay, they can be found in the small soil or contaminated groundwater, and they are considered an occupational disease. Okay, so if you would notice, The occupation involved are the one that handles animals. Diba? Butchers, farmers, veterinarians. Okay? So the disease is your erysipeloid. Okay? Do not confuse this with your erysipelas. Diba? What causes erysipelas? Nagkukos ng erysipelas. Species. Last week, di ba? Topic nyo yon. Sandra, season. Anong nagkukos ng
Pyogenes, Doc.
Okay, pyogenes. Okay, pag erysipeloid, erysipelotrix. Okay, so they will present with a painful, pruritic, inflammatory skin lesion with a raised, violaceous edge and a central clear. Okay, but in patients that are immunocompromised, they can present with a septic disease and they are associated with endocarditis. Okay, so diagnostic test, you can perform staining. Okay, so very non-specific ang laboratory test for erysipelas. Okay, treatment, the drug of choice is penicillin, but you can give following antibiotics, but most of them are resistant to your vancomycin. Next, we'll go to your actinomycetes. Okay, so they are aerobic, okay, and they are a large, diverse group of gram-positive bacilli that has a tendency to form chains or filaments. Okay? So these are members of your actinomycetes. Okay? They can be divided into your acid-fast. Okay? That includes your mycobacteria, your weakly acid-fast, your nocardia, and your non-acid-fast. Okay? Your streptomyces. Okay? But we will concentrate on your acid-fast actinomycetes, your mycobacteria. Okay? And you have different species of mycobacteria, and we will only be discussing the more important ones. That is your Mycobacterium tuberculosis and your Mycobacterium leprae. Okay? So itong dalawa lang ang ating i-discuss. Okay, let's go to your Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, so you're in tissues. So your tubercle bacilli are thin, straight rods, and we cannot really classify them either as gram-positive or gram-negative. Okay, and true tubercle bacilli are characterized by their acid fastness, and they depend on the integrity of the waxy envelope. Okay, also known as your mycolic acid. But so these are different acid staining methods to demonstrate your Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The first two are your acid-fast staining. Okay, so it will be discussed in detail to you during your laboratory, and you will perform acid-fast staining next week. You will have your face-to-face. Okay, you have two types of acid-fast staining, your Kinyo method and your Nielsen method. Okay, the one that you will be performing in the laboratory will be your Kinyo. Okay, so ito yung gagawin. Okay, and the last slide will be your immunofluorescent staining. Okay, like your Oramine or your product. Okay, so you can also culture your Mycobacterium tuberculosis, but this is very not commonly done. Okay, because it will take a very long time. Okay, sometimes up to months bago ka magkaroon ng growth in your culture tissue. Okay, but this will be demonstrated to you in the laboratory. Okay, yung Lowenstein-Jensen. So meron tayo niyan, ipapakita sa inyo yan. Okay, but you will be not performing culture of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, so we will now proceed with the pathogenesis. Okay, so your mycobacteria are emitted in droplets when an infected person cough, sneeze, or speak. Okay, and these droplets will evaporate and it will be inhaled. Okay, so mahahawa si patient and it will be deposited on the alveoli. Okay, and inside the alveoli, in the host's, okay, si patient, the host's immune system will respond by releasing your cytokines and your lymphokines. This will stimulate the release of your monocytes and your macrophages. Okay? And your mycobacterium will begin to multiply within your macrophages. Okay? Some of the macrophage develop the enhanced ability to kill the organism. So, pwedeng mamatay si bacilli, but others may be killed by the bacilli. Okay, so si macrophage ang mamatay. Okay, and after 1 to 2 months after exposure to pathogenic lesion will now appear in the lungs. Okay, so ano tong dalawang pathogenic lesion? The first is your exudative type. Okay, so your exudative type is seen particularly in the lungs where it resembles bacterial. Okay, so the first manifestation ng patient will resemble a bacterial. Okay, so it may heal by resolution so that the entire exudate becomes absorbed. Okay, so you will heal, the patient will heal. Okay, or it may lead to a massive necrosis of tissue or may develop into the second type of lesion. It may progress to your second type of lesion, which is your productive type. Okay, and when they are fully developed, this type of lesion is now called your chronic granuloma. Okay, and your chronic granuloma consists of 3 layers or 3 zones. Okay, so you have a central area of large multinucleated giant cells containing your tubercle bacilli. So nasa gitna or nasa loob si tubercle bacilli. Okay, you have a mid-zone of epithelioid cells and an outer or peripheral zone of fibroblast, lymphocytes, and your lymphocytes. So this is your chronic granuloma. Okay, nasa gitna or nasa loob yung mga bacilli. Okay, and later on the disease, okay, the central area will undergo cassation necrosis. Okay, once cassation necrosis occurred, the lesion is now called your tubercle. Okay, kanina, chronic granuloma. Pag nagkaroon ka ng cassation necrosis, it is now called your tubercle. Okay, this caseous tubercle may break. So, pwede siyang bugto. It will now release the tubercle. Okay, it will empty contents, it will release the tubercle, and you will now form a cavity in your lungs. Okay, and this may subsequently heal by fibrosis or calcification. Okay, so the tubercle bacilli spread in the host by direct extension through the lymphatic channels and bloodstream. And in the first infection, tubercle bacilli always spread from the initial site via the lymphatics going to the regional lymph nodes. What do we mean by initial site? What is the always initial site of Mycobacterium tuberculosis? Zaira de la Cruz, sa tingin mo, what is always the initial site of a Mycobacterium tuberculosis infection? Pag nag-spread siya, it can spread. It can go to different organs. But what is the always initial site of infection?
Sa lungs po ba?
Sa lungs. Always sa lungs. Okay? So if you have a patient na merong, for example, lymph nodes, okay, and you suspect tuberculosis, kahit walang pulmonary manifestation, it always comes from the lungs. Okay? The bacilli may spread further and reach the bloodstream, which in turn distributes the bacilli to all organs. Now, if it is distributed to all organs, you call that your biliary distribution. Okay? Pag isang organ lang ang involved, one or two organs, you call that extra pulmonary tuberculosis. Okay? It is distributed to all organs. You call that your biliary tuberculosis or biliary distribution. Okay? Now, the WHO, meron tayong tatlong types or classification of TB infection. Okay? This is the new categories. Okay, you have your presumptive TB, your bacteriologic confirmed TB, and your clinically diagnosed TB. Okay, so before we proceed, I will share another slide. This is the updated version. Okay, the classification of TB as well as treatment for tuberculosis. Okay, so this was last updated January 2020. Okay, so ito yung bagong update. Okay, so ito yung ating mga case definition of tuberculosis infection. First is presumptive TB. Okay, so ano ba yung presumptive TB? Okay, so this refers to a patient who presents with signs and symptoms suggestive TB. Okay, this is previously known as your TB suspect. Okay, so we do not use the term TB suspect more. Okay, we use the term presumptive TB. Okay, the next classification will be your bacteriologically confirmed TB. Okay, so ano siya? Is one form kung a biologic specimen is positive. So meron tayong diagnostic test palagi. Positive by smear microscopy. That is your AFB smear or your DSSM smear. Okay. Number 2 is positive to your culture, TB culture. And last, positive to your TB expert. Okay, yung mga gene expert. So tatandaan, positive either sa tatlo, smear, culture, or yung mga gene expert. Okay? So pag positive doon, you label the patient bacteriologic confirmed TB. Okay? And the other one is your clinically diagnosed TB. Okay. Ano ba yung clinically diagnosed TB? So one who does not fulfill the criteria of bacteriological confirmation. So wala kang positive result ng smear, culture, or gene expert. Okay? But has been diagnosed with active TB by a clinician. So diniagnose ng clinician ng may TB and decided to give a full course of TB. Okay? So this definition includes cases diagnosed based on X-ray. Okay, so X-ray lang. Or histology. Ano ba yung mga histology? So nag-biopsy ka. Example again, lymph nodes. Okay, then yung histology niya, ang result suggestive of tuberculosis. Okay, so they are considered clinically diagnosed TB. Okay? Linaw ha, yung mga definitions natin ng tuberculosis. Okay? So stop muna tayo. Balik tayo sa slides natin. Sabi natin kanina, signs and symptoms. Diba? Sa presumptive, ano ba yung mga signs and symptoms of TB? Ayan, cough of at least 2 weeks, unexplained cough of any duration, in a close contact with a known active TB case, or a chest X-ray finding suggestive of TB with or without symptoms, or any of the following. Okay? So ano pa yung mga diagnosis? Diagnostic test, we can do radiologic diagnosis, yung mga X-ray, diba? Chest X-ray, suggestive of TB with or without symptoms is considered presumptive TB. Okay? So this means that your chest X-ray is a good screening test to identify a presumptive. Okay, let's go to your bacteriologic confirmed TB. So ano yung sinabi nating tatlo? AFB smear or your DSSM. Diba? Direct sputum smear microscopy. Okay, your AFB. The ideal AFB method is your Ziehl-Nielsen. Okay, because here in the Philippines, most local laboratory do not have a light-emitting diode microscopy. This is the preferred method. Okay? Pero most local laboratory do not have this one, so they perform your AFB. Diba? Sabi natin kanina, we have 2 types of AFB smear, your Ziehl-Nielsen and your Quignon method. Okay, so pag tinanong what is the most desired method, the answer is your Ziehl-Nielsen method. Okay, so your DSSM microscopy is considered the primary diagnostic test. Okay, so this is the primary diagnostic test. What do you think is the gold standard? Ano sa tingin niyo ang gold standard?
Culture.
Your culture. Okay, so you will have your definitive diagnosis. But again, this is not frequently done because it will take you a long time to have a result. Yan, sometimes 2 to 4 weeks. And lastly, di ba yung ating tinatawag na gene expert. Are you familiar with gene expert? This can also be done for COVID. Pwede na rin siyang gawin sa COVID. Okay? So, what we do is you have a machine and you're a cartridge. Okay? Sa cartridge, you will put your specimen. The specimen is still your sputum. Okay? So, ilalagay mo lang yung specimen sa cartridge and you will feed it to the machine. Okay? And after some time, the machine will give you this result. Either MTB detected, so positive ka for tuberculosis, it will also tell you if that particular specimen is resistant or susceptible to your rifampicin. Okay, madidetect din niya if you are resistant or susceptible to rifampicin. Again, yung tatlo, for bacteriologically confirmed TB, dapat positive either smear, DSSM, gene expert, and your culture. Okay? Other diagnostic procedure. This is your PPD or your Mantoux tuberculin test. Okay, but in the recent CPG in adults, this is not recommended. Okay, so this is not recommended. But for pediatric patient, okay, the CPG in pediatric still uses your PPD testing for diagnosing tuberculosis. Okay, treatment. Okay, so stop muna tayo. How do you treat TB? Okay, these are all posted in your Moodle, ha? You can read. Okay, hindi natin madi-discuss ngayon. So these are the antibiotics used for tuberculosis. Okay, but we have a guideline. Okay, so unfortunately, you have to memorize this one. Okay, first thing you need to know is to know the category of patient. Okay, for example, category 1, 1A, 2, and your 2A. Okay, so ano ba yung category 1? So let's concentrate on your category 1. So these are newly diagnosed TB. Okay, whether confirmed, bacteriologically confirmed, or clinically diagnosed. Okay, category 1 also includes extrapulmonary tuberculosis, except CNS and bones. Now, question. Nakalagay dito sa guidelines natin, pwedeng clinically diagnosed or bacteriologically confirmed. The question is, can you treat patients labeled with presumptive TB. So itong dalawa, pwede na tayo mag-treat. How about presumptive? Can you treat patients with presumptive TB? John Ramos, yes or no? What do you think?
Yes, po.
Yes. Okay, yes. You can now give treatment with presumptive TB. Okay? Now, so paano binibigay? Paano ba natin binibigay? Okay? So for category 1, so ito na lang munang i-discuss natin. So ano bang ibig sabihin nito? 4-HRZE/4HR. So meaning 2 months. 2 months of intensive phase. So you have to give, H is isoniazid, R is rifampicin, Z is pyrazinamide, E is your ethambutol. Okay? So 2 months of intensive treatment with these antibiotics, followed by 4 months of your maintenance, which is 4 months of isoniazid and rifampicin. Okay, so pag category 1A, ito yung treatment, this is the definition. 2, okay, 2, this is the definition. This is the treatment regimen. S is your streptomycin. Okay? So, medyo mahirap mag-treat, di ba? Kasi madaming gamot. Okay? But there are commercially available medicines, for example, your Myrin P40, that contains the 4 antibiotics. So, isang gamot na lang ang okay? So, ito lang, meron siyang rifampicin, isoniazid, ethambutol, and pyrazinamide. Okay? For your maintenance dose, there are also commercially available that contains only your rifampicin and isoniazid. Okay? So, it will depend kung gaano na lang kadami yung paiinom mo, kung how many tablets. Okay? This will depend on the weight of the patient. Okay? But for streptomycin, it is given through IV. Okay? It is given through IV. Okay? So, these are just Definitions, okay, multi-drug resistant TB. These are resistant to at least isoniazid or rifampicin. We also have our extensively drug-resistant tuberculosis. So, anong definition? Multi-drug resistant TB. So, they are resistant to at least isoniazid and rifampicin, plus resistant to the following medications, like your fluoroquinolones. Okay? And they are considered your second-line treatment for your tuberculosis. Okay? Previously, levofloxacin is used for pneumonia, kaliwat kanan, levofloxacin. But now, di na siya ginagamit sa pneumonia. It is reserved, okay, for your resistant tuberculosis. Okay? Now, let's go to your Mycobacterium leprae, di ba? So, acid-fast din siya bacilli that can be singly, parallel, or in globular masses. So, pwede siyang mag-kumpul-kumpul. Okay, they are regularly found in the scrapings from skin or mucous membrane, particularly in the patient's nasal septum. Okay, and they cannot be cultured in artificial culture medium. Okay, if you want to culture them, you have to use yung mga yan, foot pads of your mice. Okay, foot pads of your mice. Okay? So, for the clinical findings, ito lang ang gusto kong malaman ninyo. Okay, you have two types of Mycobacterium leprae. Okay, your leprematus and your tuberculoid. Okay? Now, for lepromatus. So, ito yung tatandaan. You have to differentiate the two. It is progressive and malignant. Okay? With nodular. Tatandaan ha, pag lepromatus, nodular skin lesions. They have symmetric nerve involvement. You have abundant AFB in the skin lesions. Madaming AFB. Okay? Sometimes this is called your multibacillary. Okay? Multibacillary. Okay, and you have a negative lepromin test, and the patient's cell-mediated immunity is deficient. Okay, so yan tatandaan. Okay, now when we say tuberculoid type, it is benign, it is non-progressive, it has macular. Macular skin lesion, di ba kanina nodular, this time macular skin lesion, asymmetric nerve involvement. Okay, you have few AFB in your lesions. Kanina, multibacillary. This time, few AFB, you call it your paucibacillary. P-A-U-C-I, paucibacillary. And you have a positive lepromin skin test. And patients with tuberculoid type of leprosy has an intact cell-mediated immunity. Okay? Intact cell-mediated immunity. So this is an example of your tuberculoid type, diba? Macular, lepromatous, nodular skin lesions. Okay? So diagnosis, you can do your AFB staining from the scrapings, from the skin or nasal mucosa. Okay? And the treatment of choice is a sulfone. This is called your dapsone. This is considered the first line therapy for Mycobacterium. Okay, but you can also use the following antibiotics. Okay? So, next topic, this will be a very short topic. Sorry, same slide. Bilang ha. Tap. Sorry, biglang nag-update ang aking Adobe. Ito na lang i-open natin na nasa Moodle din. Yan, so ito na lang. So this is very short. So I would just like you to read the slides, but I would like to emphasize important parts. So this one will be just yung definition of terms natin, di ba? We have discussed this already. Okay, so if you have read your book, okay, maraming nakalagay doon. Inisa-isa nila yung mga anaerobic organism, okay, then yung mga disease, but in the end, they only have one pathogenesis, okay? And the pathogenesis of anaerobic or infection is based on one organism, that is your Bacteroides fragilis. Okay? So what is important, I want you to know is, of course, the anaerobic organism and where it is found. Saan siya commonly found? Because more likely, it will cause infection on this anatomic site. Okay? For example, your lactobacillus, they can be found in your vagina. So they more be likely to cause pathology on your vagina. Okay? So si Clostridium sa colon, ba? Si Bacteroides sa colon. So yung important. Because, again, the pathogenesis of all your anaerobic organism is based on Bacteroides fragilis. Okay, so we still have more time. So pwede nating i-discuss yung pathogenesis. Okay? One characteristic of your Bacteroides, it has your capsular polysaccharide. Okay, this is an important virulence factor. Okay, so this is the one responsible for abscess formation. Okay, but the exact mechanism for abscess formation is still unknown. Hindi pa natin alam the exact mechanism. Okay? So, it also produces your lipopolysaccharide. But the lipopolysaccharide produced by your anaerobic organism or your Bacteroides fragilis is much less toxic compared to your gram-negative organisms. Okay? So infection caused by anaerobic organism or Bacteroides does not directly produce clinical signs of sepsis. So, hindi masyadong nagre-present ng sepsis ang mga anaerobic infection compared to your gram-negative organism. Okay? So, they produce several enzymes. Okay? One enzyme is your enterotoxin. So, they can also produce or cause food poisoning. Your Clostridium is an anaerobic organism that can cause food poisoning. Okay? And it produces superoxide dismutase. Ano ba si superoxide dismutase? Balik tayo dito. Yung anaerobic organism, di ba, they die in the presence of oxygen. Okay, bakit yung mga aerobic organism do not die in the presence of oxygen? Because your aerobic organism have the following systems. Meron tayong cytochrome system, your superoxide dismutase, and your catalase. This system protects your aerobic organism from oxygen. Okay, wherein your anaerobic organism do not have this. Kaya sila namamatay in the presence of oxygen. But some species contains or produces a small amount of superoxide dismutase. Okay? Pero after some time, mawawala na yung superoxide dismutase, they will die, okay, in the presence of oxygen. So they can survive for a short amount of time in the presence of oxygen. Now, what are the clinical signs suggesting you have a possible anaerobic infection? Okay, very characteristic, your foul smelling discharge. This is very characteristic of an anaerobic infection. Now, if you are in the wards, pag clinical clerks na kayo, once you smell an anaerobic wound, okay, nakaamoy kayo ng sugat na may anaerobic infection, hindi nyo na siya makakalimutan. Okay? Amoy pa lang, alam niyo more probably anaerobic infection. Okay. Second, infection is in close proximity to a mucosal surface. Again, since they are part of the normal flora. And of course, pag negative yung aerobic culture mo, papakulture ka, negative. And last will be gas in the tissues because they produce CO2 and your hydrogen. Okay, ano yung mga diagnostic tests that can tell you there are gas in the tissues? You need a diagnostic test para malaman natin kung may gas to tissues. Di ba? Hindi naman titingnan mo lang, sasabihin mo may gas. So ano yung mga pwede mong i-request? Marie de la Cruz. Yung pwede mong i-request para malaman natin, uy, may gas sa tissue. Or likely, the infection is caused by an anaerobic organism.
Radiologic exams po.
Okay, yung mga radiologic exams such as a CT scan or an MRI. Okay, sasabihin na you have an abscess formation with gas. Okay, so pag with gas, more likely, anaerobic infection. Okay, so this is the one used for anaerobic cultures, your gas pack jar. This will be demonstrated to you. Papakita, meron sa inyo. And this will be discussed in detail, the principles during your laboratory period. Okay? Last side, treatment. Treatment of mixed anaerobic infection. Again, sabi natin, meron siyang pus or abscess. You have to do surgical drainage. Very important. Okay? Plus your antimicrobial therapy. And the most used drugs will be your clindamycin and your metronidazole. But the preferred preferred antibiotic for infections above the diaphragm will be your clindamycin. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Sige, wala. Announcement. Tomorrow, you will have your shifting exam. The topic will be Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, and your Neisseria. Okay? If you have no more questions, sige, log in lang kayo for attendance for your class tomorrow, di ba? Kahit 30 minutes to an hour. Then you can go. Sige. Ang question, sure? Okay, you can go.
Thank you.